Hey guys, it's been a while. So, for the foreseeable future, I think I'm going to use my YouTube channel as sort of a diary of some interesting poker hands and maybe some thoughts on poker lifestyle, and just uh just more of a diary and some hand replays and just interesting things that I find interesting in poker. Under the gun player raises to 2x and queen 8 is a clear call. Solver when it raises, solver actually mixes a little bit of raising here, but when you make it 2.5x, solver actually folds queen 8 sometimes, but it's mainly played as a call. So we get a 4, 7, 10 rainbow flop. We are checking our whole range. I have GTO Wizard on the other screen. So right here is the full range of checking. And so go ahead and check. He bets uh, 2/3 pot about, which think is a good sizing. I don't think 1/3 is as good, um, because even though this is a very disconnected sort of low flop, he's gonna have all the overpairs, and I'm really only gonna have like one more set more than him. But because I have pocket fours, but because I never have pocket tens and he has sevens and tens, it kind of evens out. So with the overpair advantage, so he pretty much has nut advantage and range advantage. The two pairs like 7-4 suited and stuff I have, and 10-7. I probably don't have any 10-4. Maybe some 10-4 suited. It gets evened out by the overpair advantage, so he has a pretty hefty range advantage here, which is lies mainly within his overpairs. Solver strategy is going to be betting this orange, which is the 2/3 bet. It's a mixed strategy, but if you want to simplify this into betting this size or betting um, 1/3, or even, I mean, if you want to study over bets, you can do that. I don't mind all of them, but if he goes ahead and bets 2/3, and I think you need to think to yourself the best course of action with Queen 8 suited, backdoor flush draw. The hands that you call here, um, which would merge your range, I don't really think um, Queen 8 goes into that category, because if you think about some of the better turns for you that don't make a pair, like a 9 or a king or jack, king actually is better for him. Most of those are better for him, and with another straight draw on the turn, the pot's going to be bigger. So I think what solver likes, and I actually technically guessed wrong, and what I do in these spots when I have two overs to second pair, one over to the top, backdoor flush draw and backdoor straight draws, uh, I actually raise here, and the sizing I use is around 50% raise. I think you gotta ask yourself if you guys are going to be finding this raise in game. The only thing is, as much as I do like this raise, solver does not. The reason solver doesn't, and this is something I've actually, the reason why I brought up this hand is I think it likes to block, this is the raising range, it likes to block hands that have uh, in positions calling range, which would be maybe the straight draws. And even though an 8 blocks the straight draws like 9-8, it does not block um, the better straight draw, which if you remember, here's the flop, which would be Jack 9. So the solver prefers having a 9, and when it has an 8, it has another good blocker with it. For example, 8-10, Jack 8 suited, Jack 8, um, and 8-7, but that's a pair. So ace 8, which blocks an 8, and blocks an ace, and obviously has uh, nut outs and quote unquote nut pair outs, single pair outs with the ace. So even though I do like my play in theory, it is this not solver, technically not solver approved. But if we sort of transmogrify our hand into queen 9 suited, and from this point on we're going to use queen 9 as a template, even though it is not technically our hand, just for sake of like a intellectual exercise. It does like this raise. Now why 50% and not pot? And that is because, so pot, it would be these hands, so the two pairs and the bottom two pairs, and I think the nut straight draws. Balance this out. It's hard to make this, well, that's one of the reasons. That's the most human reason, for at least for us as humans, is it's hard for us to balance this. But the solver wants to merge hands like um, top pair good kicker, ace 10, into this range. And when you're polarizing too much, for example, if you look ace 10, oh, actually it has a sliver of it, but for not really. Um, and hands with tens, it doesn't really want to make it as polar, because it wants to do that with hands that are not as good. For example, queen 9 suited, king 9 suited, and the ace 10, ace 9 suited. So it doesn't want to polarize as much, because I would argue that a hand like queen 9 suited, ace 9 suited is not as polarizing, raising those types of hands, those types of combinations. It's not as polarizing than if you raise something like, 5-3 suited. Let's see, 7-4 is set, 6-7 suited. It's not as polarizing as those hands. So we'll move to the turn. He calls, and the queen. This is why this is a very interesting hand. Could have been even more interesting if the suit was a little bit different. The queen of diamonds turn, giving us top pair now. So now our hand goes from pretty bad to a pair. So let me now remember, if we sort of use queen 9 as a template, um, you will see that it likes to check, and if you look at the range in general, check is far and away the most common action with almost 70%. Queen 9 is going to be a slightly mixed strategy. So in real time, I decided to bet, because mainly because of the player pool. I thought player pool might overfold this spot. Thinking about it now, I don't think so. I probably like bet. I probably like checking better. But it does use this like 2/3 size. I might have used a little bit bigger. I think I used 3/4, whatever. Um, so yeah, uh, it's mixing here. I think checking would be really, really good. I don't think the turn is like really the biggest decision point. It's important here on this hand, but as you can see, checking is probably a little bit better. If we could simplify this all to checking, it would probably be better. He calls, and what to do on the river. Now the problem with this river is that it does bring in the front door straight, which I don't know how often I would be raising hands like uh, three. I'm sorry, 3-6 and 6-8, which I do block, but that doesn't matter. But you know, going back to flop, those hands are part of the biggest raising. The only thing is, I don't have that hand. I have what we are going to use is Queen 9, Queen 8. Um, so I'm in a bit of a conundrum. What to do on this river? As you can see, uh, our template hand, Queen 9, on this river actually likes checking. I think part of the reason in this Nash equilibrium strategy is that it might just have too many combos of bluffs if we are using this all-in size. Because when you use all-in, you need to have, you don't have to have that many bluffs. And it looks like the bluffs that it is using are hands that he likes to block. The player bet's pretty big, 40 into 56. And we now have to figure out what to do. And now, solver doesn't really like this sizing. I think solver either going to go a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. But for all this intents and purposes, we're going to do 48, which would be pot, I guess, if use the solver sizes. The hands he's betting, this are the overpairs, Queen 10, Ace 10. So his bluffs are going to be coming from Ace 10 and Jack 9. Sorry, and Jack 9. Jack 9 is going to be the main hand that missed. And 9-8, but Jack 9 has a higher frequency. So when you bet pot, remember, he only has to have a third of the hands have to be bluffs. So I guess 3 combinations, 4 or 5. So should be 15, roughly 15 combinations. Ace 10 off. It's gonna be the other blocker, other 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. So in here, there's probably 27 combos ish of value. And when he does bet this, do we call a Queen 9 suited? Now, solver likes the call, but I don't know if I do, because when we get to this spot, we have to think of the hands that would be bluff catching turn that actually want to go for thin value. We block all the queens, so my thought process in real time was, well, we block the queens. He does have probably all combos of kings and aces, which honestly is not that much, just 12 combos. He probably, in my opinion, has no combos of one pair, because he's not going to go for a value with a 10 here. He's going to check back 10, check back a 7, check back a 4. Under the gun's raising range pre-flop should not, like I said earlier, not have 10-7, 10-4, maybe pocket 10s. Yeah, pocket 10s by him is actually raising. Yeah, you just need to like get it in against like my 2 pairs in bottom sets. Pocket 7s. If you have pocket 10s, you need to get, if it's set over set, you need to get the max, but set's betting anyways, river, so I guess it doesn't really matter. So anyways, let's think about the hands that he would actually bet this for value. And I'm not talking about, let's forget about the solver for 1 second. Let's just think about the hands that he could have for value. Aces, kings, so many discounted. He doesn't have. I block so many pocket queens hands, and he shouldn't have any 2 pairs. So he has three combos of pocket tens. He has see, and here's the problem. I'm counting combos now. And I actually think I agree with some of these guys that think counting combos is actually stupid in real time. Because the thought process you should be using is not counting combos, but it is this spot over or under bluff? So let's just pretend this is well, this is 2/3. So I need 28%. So is he bluffing more than 28%? I just think this is just under bluffed. Like he has no bluffs here. Like if he wants to find bluffs, he has to bluff his Jack 9. I mean, how many guys are raising? I mean, how many guys are raising Jack 9 suited under the gun and Ace 10 off and just gonna bluff Ace 10 and 9 8? This just seems like value. So I think this is a fold, even though so much of me likes calling. Like so, I can't explain it, but so much of me is just like, how could he have a hand here? Like I block queens, which queens is like a huge like portion of his range. He's checking back jacks at a high frequency. He's checking back a 10 at a high frequency. He has no other hands that are value. So the only hands that he should be betting for value is kings and aces. And then what are his bluffs? Ace 10? I mean, Jack 9 suited under the gun? Oh my god. I don't know. I mean, it's, in my opinion, it's just a fold. And this is why we review hands, because it felt so much like a call in real time because he's repping so thinly. It felt like a call. But it doesn't matter if he's repping thinly. What really matters is can he balance that value? Can he balance that thin value with bluffs? And honestly, no. Player pool tendency when bet big on the river in position, A is just under bluffed in general, and B, he needs to find like Jack 9 here. How much of your player pool is just insta mucking Jack 9 under the gun in a six-handed game? And how many players are just checking back Jack 9 and giving up? A lot. So yes, it was technically a mistake by me, and my head was in the right spot, and I thought through everything in the hand. But the one thing I just gave him too much credit for was having enough bluffs. Hope you liked this video. See you later, guys. I'll try to make more of them.